The Real Investment Show.
So just a second ago, we were talking a little bit about, shutdowns and things that we're doing and destroying sections of the economy because, we're doing this as a knee-jerk reaction to trying to combat the virus. Get it. I completely understand it. We're trying to make these decisions, so to speak, on the fly. But there's consequences to doing these things. And it's interesting because, when you look at a lot of the statistics that is going on, there's one that was out this morning talking about Americans are paying down their credit card debt. That's not really the case. They are paying down their credit card debt, but it's not the bulk of Americans. It's mostly those in the top 10% of the economy that have a lot of excess income, and they're not spending money right now. They're staying mostly, shuttered. They're not jumping on their private jets, flying here and there, spending cash, so they're paying off debt, right? Might as well. The reason I say it's that group, because a recent survey of 2,000 Americans that were carried out by the innovation consultancy Highland, they took a close look at how personal finances and spending habits have changed since the start of COVID-19. Now, people have changed their habits, right? We've talked about this on the show before. Yeah, we're not going out as much to eat, right? We're doing more things at home. We're spending more money at home versus going out. So there's definitely been a change. But there's also been a lot of job losses as well, right? And this is why we have moratoriums on evictions and rent payments and all these type of things. Trying to help everybody out. So we saw last Friday that the market added 245,000 jobs. Now, actually, that's a pretty decent number. Everybody was like, oh, that's a really disappointing number because over the last weeks before that, or a few months before that, we're adding like 600,000, million, these big numbers, right? But 245,000 is actually higher than what we saw during the majority of the last decade, which was averaging about 180,000 a month. So 245,000 jobs actually wasn't that bad of a number. But as again, it was far below the hiring that we saw previously following the March bottom when we started hitting the economy with all the stimulus and, businesses went back to work and did what they had to do. But even before the pandemic, we were talking about the state of economic finances for the vast majority of Americans, or the bottom 80%. And even when we were in the decade of boom times for the economy and the markets and everything's doing great, the average, individual in that kind of bottom 80% bracket couldn't come up with $500 to meet emergency. We've talked about this numerous times on the show, written articles about it, et cetera. So has it changed any since, COVID-19 and all these stimulus payments and everything else that we're doing are people really, so flush at this point, they're just starting to pay off credit card debt? The answer is really no. According to the survey asked for the reasons, respondents cited the need to be more cautious with their finances. That was 60% of them, experiencing reduced salary or income of 49%, and staying at home more often, which was 40% of survey respondents. So they're staying at home more. They've a big chunk of them have experienced either a salary reduction or a loss of job. Not surprising. Being more cautious financially. For those who have cut back, 64% say they are spending less on dining out. Not surprising. I'm kind of tight on money. The one thing I'm going to cut back on first is I'm going to cut back on dining out. But again, I can't dine out anyway because all the restaurants are closed. But again, this goes back to where we're spending money and how we're doing this in the economy. 61% have reduced spending on entertainment, such as concerts or movies. Why? Because you can't go anyway. And 55% are buying less apparel, and 52% are spending less on travel. Makes complete sense, right? Men's Warehouse recently filed bankruptcy. Why? Well, I don't need to buy a suit anymore to go to work because I now put on a dress shirt and a pair of Bahama shorts, get on Zoom, right? Half dress is now the full dress of America. But these are the changes that we're making, right? I obviously don't, travel as much anymore because I don't need to. My wife works, she's director of sales, and she used to travel, every week. She would travel somewhere to meet with clients face to face, this type of thing, and doesn't do that anymore. Everything's by Zoom. And literally companies have mandated we're not meeting face to face. We'll do it over Zoom. We'll do it over, GoToMeeting, whatever your preferential Microsoft Teams, whatever your preferential video conferencing channel is. That's how sales are being done. So business travel in particular has been cut down a lot. Personal travel has been cut down a lot because a lot of places you just can't go, right? So a lot of this cutback in spending has not been really by choice. It's been by force. But even with that, here's the interesting thing. So you would think that with even these cutbacks that people will be in a better financial position, right? They're being forced to save. It's interesting to note that 21% of respondents say they've been spending more since the pandemic. Of those that were spending more, they're buying more food and groceries, and 50% are buying more household supplies and stuff. So in other words, now you're sitting home all day, you're locked up on kind of your couch watching the internet and everything, all the ads that are now popping up on your Facebook and social media feeds. You're going, hey, I need that adult-sized beanbag that I never thought I would actually want. Right? All of a sudden, you need these things. So people are compulsively shopping because now they're at home all day. They're bored. They have nothing else to do. So they're now spending more money on stuff because they're bored, right? After the unemployment rate spiked up to more than 14% in April, Americans continue to be wary about job security and income. According to respondents, more than a quarter feel they do not currently have stable income. 53% say they were not living paycheck to paycheck before the pandemic, and 64% of millennials say they are currently living paycheck to paycheck. Main methods of spending, of course, have been regular income and paycheck, obviously savings, credit cards, selling personal assets, borrowing from friends and family, and unemployment insurance. 27% of all the respondents have now taken on more than $10,000 in new debt since that time. Now, here's perhaps the most alarming number from the survey. 82% of respondents, 82% of the respondents say they would not be able to cover an emergency $500 expense without borrowing money. So in other words, what existed pre-pandemic still exists post-pandemic because we really didn't change the underlying behavior of individuals. And so this is one of the reasons why we keep coming back to this whole demand. We've got to get more stimulus into the economy. We've got to get more people money. We've got to help all the poor people. That's 80% of American folks. We're not talking about, 30 million Americans at the bottom of the poverty structure. We're talking about 80% of Americans that are living paycheck to paycheck. And if we don't get them more stimulus, theoretically, we're going to have problems. Better goal would be just to get businesses back open again and get people back to work. But, we're trying to do this according to the science, so to speak, but we don't do it in an equitable manner. Again, we leave some businesses open that we classify as essential. Other businesses we shutter because, they're just a small business, so they're not really that important to the economy. And that's really not the case. These small businesses are extremely essential to the economy, not just near term, but also long term. And this is why we have to be more prudent about how, if we want to maintain shutdowns and caution and these type of things, we have to be much more prudent about how we approach that. We also have to be thinking about this, right? If wearing a mask and social distancing works like they say it works, then why do you have these surging cases? right? We just have that many people running around, not masked, not social distancing. They're the troublemakers. And if it's the case, then also why do we have no flu cases, right? So if the masking works and social distancing works, which is eliminating influenza for the most part, then why do you have such big increases in the COVID cases? And again, I'm not arguing the science at all. That's not the point of the conversation. What my point is that we have to look at that fact and then say, okay, now how are we applying that data to how we're controlling the economy? What businesses we leave open? Great, we're leaving Costco open. Awesome. Have you been to a Costco parking lot or to a Costco on a weekend? It's like a rock concert, right? So, if masking doesn't actually work, right? Because we're wearing masks where the particles go actually through the material and we're infecting other people. Part of the problem may be that we're leaving Costco open and H-E-B open and Walmart open and everybody's going there to shop in person. Maybe that's part of the problem, right? But we're not doing this on an equitable, judicious manner. We're just making ad hoc choices that companies that have the ability to lobby Congress to remain open versus those that don't get the benefit, right? But the impact long-term to the economy is what we're really talking about here, right? The bottom 80% of Americans, those that need to go back to work, those that need to participate, and a big chunk of those jobs belong to the small business segment of our economy. We'll be right back after the break.
7 years so bad now.
Get daily investment news you can use, delivered at the speed of the internet at realinvestmentadvice.com.
This is Lance Roberts, your host, wishing you all of the best in the new year from all of us at RIA Advisors.
This is Nikki Brock-Maresca with the RIA Advisors HR Department, wishing you and your family a very Merry Christmas.
Hi, this is Craig Severin, Senior Financial Planner, wishing you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
This is Brent Clanton, Executive Producer, wishing you all the best in the new year.
Hi, this is Connie Mack, CEO, wishing you and your family a Merry Christmas from all of us at RIA Advisors.